Whoa, it's good. Anybody out there? Well, I got some pretty bad news today. I heard that Nick Bougas has passed away, and he was pretty influential on me. So I wanted to kind of talk about him and the stuff I have here of his, and talk about what he meant to me because I'm sure if he gets any mention in the mainstream press at all, it will be pretty negative. So I wanted to kind of counter that and just say, yeah, he did some pretty cool things. And of course, he was like a '90s countercultural figure, is where I know him from, going back that far when I was in high school, and similar circles to Jim Goad, who also passed away maybe about a month ago. And like, here's a Jim Goad. I've got a couple of his books here. They're autographed, um, and I'd wanted to do a video on my Jim Goad collection as well at the time, but personal circumstances just I couldn't make a video at the time. So maybe I'll do that later on. But I wanted to acknowledge him as well. But let's get into this. This is some VHS tapes that Nick Bougas had created, and I had ordered these got a mail order from the Feral House catalog. So that goes back a long ways. Um, just really cool stuff. Learning about this stuff first, just getting into like just from being into metal music, and then you kind of build on that and learn about all these other countercultural things to kind of absorb and warp your mind with. I was all about it in high school. So anything to get away from shit like the "Come On Ride the Train" song, stuff like that. Get the Mariah Carey out of your mind, and that's kind of what this stuff was initially to me, just a huge escape from the mainstream. So here we have Death Scenes. This is a documentary that he made, and it's just what it says: classic police file photos from the golden age of Los Angeles and Hollywood. And I had been kind of getting into film noir itself. I'd also just kind of discovered the Kenneth Anger's Hollywood Babylon books. So I was really enamored of like the film noir, classic Hollywood sensibility and atmosphere. And so this was like a really dark, sinister flip side of this. This is like James Elroy and the Black Dahlia. And of course, the Black Dahlia is featured prominently in this documentary. And it's hosted by Anton LaVey, of course, pretty big in the metal scenes, pretty big name, as far as influence goes, polarizing as it is. But he hosted this. They were good friends, him and Nick Bougas. So other interesting thing is you see this name here, Ray Atherton. Do you know that name? That Ray Atherton was one of the coolest characters in one of my favorite movies. He played the TV salesman in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. So that's just like, and he was big part of his business was knowing about like public domain footage and stuff like that would go into like these documentaries and making documentaries out of things you could get royalty free or what you could use legally and not. So he had a bunch of he just had a wealth of knowledge about movie footage. So I guess that's where he comes into this picture here. But that's the thing I love about like outsider art and countercultural stuff. There are all these strange connections and associations that you would never think in a million years. And people that I'll explain. Well, I'll explain it later what exactly I mean about these connections. But to move on to the next thing, he also made a documentary on Anton LaVey himself, The Speak of the Devil. So this was something that was really important for me to see. So there you go. There's a little rundown on it. And again, just a really cool thing Nick Bougas created. And he also was a bit of a singer, and Anton LaVey, of course, put out this music album, Satan Takes a Holiday, and Nick Bougas sings on like a few of these tracks here. This is, again, very outsider art. This is not something mainstream or something a lot of people are going to like, but I think it's really cool. And just to explain, again, the strange connections that you find in this in the twilight world of counterculture, the cool counterculture anyway, is who recorded this album? It was none other than Neil Hamburger. famous comedian Neil Hamburger knew Anton LaVey and recorded this music and put it out on a record label of his own. So that's just one of those crazy things. And I discovered Neil Hamburger independently of all this stuff. I just saw him on TV once and just thought he was hilarious. And so that's crazy to find out later on that he had this connection and that he put out this record. So like that was really just like I say, fun things you learn about if you really care about underground stuff, getting away from the mainstream, trying to just not be entertained by whatever the corporations shove in your face and just be accepting that. That's what I like about this stuff. So whatever negative press might come out about Nick Bougas and his other artistic creations, which we won't get into very much, you know. And you know, the mainstream, it's either inspired by the underground or it cannibalizes it for its own agenda and purposes. So, you know, that's what I think about that. But here we have this book, Cult Rapture, by Adam Parfrey, also passed away a few years ago. Another quintessential Feral House book here. And Nick Bougas had contributed some artwork to it. I probably shouldn't show this off too much, but I'll give you a brief glimpse into his artistic style because he had done this caricature of Andrea Dworkin. And so there it is in all its glory there. But on that note, I mean, what better tribute can I pay to the man than just to show the work itself and say, you know, we're gonna miss you, and you know, I hope I can do something half as cool as some of the things he did. He also had put out the CD, Celebrities at Their Worst. You know, he might have even had multiple volumes of this. But it just goes to show you, like, the things that people love today, like that Orson Welles, you know, the drunk wine commercial. Well, he had that way back when. Like, he knew about that before someone else told him about it, you know? And that's what these people do. They not only create art, they preserve the world through this fractured lens that I think is so important. And that's why it's kind of rough to know, like, I know exactly what people are going to say if they mention him at all, what his lasting influence will be on this pathetic, metastasized internet culture is going to be. So anyway, that's just why I felt obligated to kind of make this video, you know, give my opinion on the matter, show off this cool stuff, just in the case his life does just get packaged into this 2 minutes hate, you know, internet story of the day, you know, to have a counterpoint to that. It's always important to have a counterpoint to the mainstream, is my whole point here, you know. Anyway, you know, I know it's getting closer to Halloween, so I've been wanting to get back in the mood, in the habit of making videos. Wanting to do some stuff on David Cronenberg and Lucio Fulci and cool stuff like that. So maybe that's where I'll pop up next. But either way, just have a good one out there, and I'll talk to you later.